All right, so get this. Today we are diving into like a wild mix of sports, music, and let's just say some messy public drama. Think you've seen it all. Not even close. We're talking about LiAngelo Ball, one of those Ball brothers, the one who just snagged a huge record deal with Def Jam and even performed at the NBA All-Star Weekend, but off the court. Let's just say things are getting, well, complicated.
What's interesting is this whole thing, it kind of goes way beyond your usual celebrity gossip. We're talking about the pressure cooker of instant fame,
Yeah.
right? And the fact that these personal battles are being fought so publicly these days. And of course, the potential impact it could have on LiAngelo's entire future, his career.
Exactly. So we're going deep into this very public feud between LiAngelo's ex, Nikki Mudarris, and his current partner, who also happens to be pregnant. We're talking accusations of infidelity flying around, a second child born just a few months ago. It's enough to make your head spin.
And the timing. Oh, the timing couldn't be more, well, let's just say dramatic. LiAngelo's career is taking off like a rocket. He leaves a long-term relationship, and bam, new relationship, baby on the way. It's practically a recipe for drama, right? Especially with how public everything is these days.
Okay, so let's break this timeline down because it's moving at like warp speed. LiAngelo, or J-Lo, as some are calling him, signs this massive deal with Def Jam, performs on a huge stage at All-Star Weekend. You'd think life's pretty good, right? But behind the scenes, his relationship with Nikki is, well, imploding. And then all of a sudden, he's with someone new, and she's expecting a baby.
And it's not just about a love triangle or anything like that. You have to think about the whole cultural context. Social media, it's basically become the battleground for these kinds of feuds. It's like reality TV, right? Everyone's got a front row seat.
Oh, absolutely. And the social media posts, that's where things get really, well, spicy. Nikki Mudarris is not holding back. I mean, not at all. She straight up posts, the same way you get them is how you lose them. Talk about a subtweet heard round the world.
You know that line right there, it speaks volumes, this idea of karma, right? It's almost like she's watching a pattern repeat itself. And it's also a power move, this message that she's above it all, that he's the one making a mistake.
And then there's this other post where she just drops, "You can keep him." Short, simple, but ouch. It's like she's totally dismissing him, like she's completely moved on. But in the world of social media, that kind of shade, well, it never really disappears.
Especially when you consider how LiAngelo's new partner responds.
Right.
She fires back, with posts like, "Loud and wrong, but I ain't clearing nothing. Rrr, and I have receipts, you better lay low."
Hold up, receipts. Okay, now I'm really curious. Are we talking proof? Like actual proof? What could she possibly have? Text messages, photos? The suspense is killing me.
Well, it's natural to get caught up in the gossip, but we got to remember social media is like a highlight reel. What we see, it's all carefully curated. We're missing so much context, and honestly, we're only getting one side of the story.
Right. It is easy to jump to conclusions when you see these heated exchanges online. But there's another layer to all of this we need to unpack. LiAngelo's new partner is also accusing Nikki and her family of being racist.
Yeah, that definitely adds a whole other dimension. Now we're going beyond personal betrayal and into some very sensitive territory.
It's a serious claim, and it's really hard to know the full story or the intentions behind it, especially in the context of this very public and messy breakup,
It really makes you think about how easily accusations can fly around in these heated moments, especially on social media where things can escalate so quickly. And it highlights how risky it is to try and unpack complex issues like race and prejudice in a space that's often driven by, sensationalism and snap judgments.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation where things can, get out of hand really quickly. But let's shift gears for a second and think about LiAngelo's career for a minute. I mean, this guy's on the verge of making it big in the music world, and now he's got this PR nightmare to deal with.
It's a classic example of how personal life and professional life can collide, especially in the age of social media. Like, think about it. Back in the day, this kind of stuff, these kinds of feuds, they probably would have stayed behind closed doors, But now, it's all out in the open, and it can really impact someone's career.
It makes me think about other musicians who've been through similar things. Kanye West, Taylor Swift, even someone like Britney Spears back in the day. Public opinion can be so fickle, and careers can really take a hit when personal drama overshadows the art.
It is fascinating to look at those examples, isn't it? Some artists, they manage to ride the wave, maybe even use the controversy to their advantage. But others, they face backlash, canceled tours, even a drop in record sales. LiAngelo, he's at a crossroads right now. And how he handles this, it could make or break his whole career.
Okay, so let's say you're advising LiAngelo right now. What's the strategy? lay low and hope it all blows over. Address it head on.
That is the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer, you know? It all depends on LiAngelo, his personality, his brand, who his audience is. Does he want to come across as the victim? Does he want to own up to things, apologize, or just ignore it completely and hope it fades away?
I guess it also depends on what those receipts actually are, right? If they're really damaging, he might have to get out ahead of the story before it explodes.
Exactly. And it's not just about managing the crisis right now. It's about thinking about the long-term impact on his image. Does he want to be known for his music? Or for this messy public feud?
All right, so let's talk about the women involved for a moment. Nikki, she's clearly hurt, angry, but she's also a mother to 2 young kids, you know? And LiAngelo's new partner, she's about to become a mother, all under this intense public scrutiny. It can't be easy for either of them.
Their experiences really highlight the human cost of these public scandals, you know? We tend to focus on the juicy details, the accusations flying back and forth. But we forget that there are real people with real emotions involved. These women are going through something deeply personal and painful, and it's all happening on a very public stage.
And then you add the potential impact on the children. It's a lot for anyone to handle, let alone young kids who might not understand what's going on.
It makes you question the ethics of airing all this dirty laundry on social media, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when children are involved. Where do you draw the line between expressing your feelings and potentially causing harm to innocent people? It's a gray area, for sure. And it's something LiAngelo, Nikki, and his new partner will have to grapple with as this unfolds.
It's like a reminder that every action has consequences, especially online where everything's documented and amplified. It makes you wonder, what are the long-term effects of having your personal life analyzed and debated by millions of strangers?
It's a valid concern, and I think it's something we're only starting to understand. I mean, social media is just becoming more and more ingrained in our lives. We're bombarded with information, opinions, judgments constantly. It's tough to separate the noise from reality sometimes.
And it's not just the people directly involved either. Think about the fans, the public who are consuming all this drama. What does it say about us, about our culture, that we're so fascinated by these stories?
You know, that's a question that sociologists and psychologists have been trying to figure out for years. There's a part of us that's drawn to drama, to conflict. We like to see people in power make mistakes, you know. It's almost like a modern-day gladiatorial contest. We're watching from the sidelines, cheering for our chosen side, judging the loser.
It's like we can't resist peeking behind the curtain. We want to see the flaws, the vulnerabilities of the people we put on pedestals. But it's so important to remember that celebrities are human beings too. They have their own complex emotions and struggles just like everyone else.
Absolutely. And it's tempting to get caught up in the gossip and the drama. But we have to try to approach these situations with empathy and a critical eye. Remember, we're only seeing a tiny piece of a much bigger, more complicated story.
So with all that said, where do we go from here? What can we learn from this whole LiAngelo Ball situation?
I think it's a case study in the dangers of fame, for sure. The power of social media, and how crucial it is to navigate personal challenges with grace and wisdom. It's a reminder that even those who seem to have it all, the talent, the money, the fame, they're still vulnerable to the same human flaws and mistakes as the rest of us.
It's like watching a cautionary tale unfold in real time. A reminder that actions have consequences, you know, and that even in this age of instant gratification and viral fame, there's no escaping the complexities of human relationships.
And it really highlights the need for empathy and understanding. Before we jump to conclusions, let's remember that we're all on our own journeys. We all have our own challenges. We're all trying to make sense of this crazy thing called life.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the weight of every single decision, post, word, when you're in the spotlight like that. And speaking of weight, let's bring it back to LiAngelo's music for a sec. I mean, how much do you think this whole drama will affect his career, especially now that he's just starting out?
Well, that's the question everyone's asking, right? Will this be just a little bump in the road? Or like a full-on train wreck? I mean, we've seen artists come back from way worse, and others completely crash and burn over stuff that seemed way less serious. A lot depends on how LiAngelo handles things over the next few months, you know?
Yeah, he's kind of standing at a crossroads, isn't he? Like, one path leads to him owning his mistakes, being transparent about it all, maybe even using his music to address what's happened. And the other, well, it's more about denial, trying to just sweep it all under the rug and hope everyone forgets.
Which path feels more real, more authentic to him? That's something only he can figure out. But I think people can tell when someone's being genuine, you know, versus when they're putting on a show. That authenticity could be his saving grace here.
But it's interesting, though, because authenticity, it can be kind of tricky, especially in the music industry. I mean, some of the most successful artists, their whole careers are built on this carefully crafted image. So how much of LiAngelo's success was tied to that good guy image? And how much can he, deviate from that before it starts hurting his brand?
You're right. That's a really good point. It's this constant tension between being true to yourself and playing the game, right?
Yeah.
Can LiAngelo be the guy who messed up, who's facing these serious accusations, and still be the artist that people want to listen to? That's the challenge he's up against.
It's like he's walking a tightrope, isn't it? He needs to keep that public image, but also acknowledge what's going on, maybe even address it in his music. But staying silent, that could come across as guilt or not caring, and talking too much, well, that could just make things worse.
And we can't forget about the legal side of things either. Depending on what those receipts actually are,
Yeah.
and how serious the accusations are. There could be custody battles, lawsuits, all sorts of things that could complicate his life and career even more.
So we've got personal drama, social media scrutiny, and career implications all mixed together. If you were LiAngelo right now, what would be your top priority?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Because you got to deal with the immediate crisis. But you can't forget about the long game either. Protecting his family, that has to come first, right? His kids, his partner. But he also needs to protect his career because that's how he provides for them. It's a balancing act with some really high stakes.
Okay, let's take a step back for a second. Think about the bigger picture. What does this whole saga tell us about, fame and social media and how we react to these stories?
I think it really highlights how much social media has changed the way we see celebrities.
Yeah.
We think we're part of their lives, like we have this intimate connection, but really we're just spectators. And it's created this hunger for drama, for conflict, for watching people we admire fall apart.
And it's a constant cycle, right? Celebrities are more accessible now than ever, and that leads to more scrutiny, more judgment, more pressure to keep up a perfect image. And when that image cracks, the backlash is intense.
This LiAngelo Ball situation,
Yeah.
it's just one example of this larger trend. We see it all the time across different industries with different celebrities. It's a cautionary tale about the dark side of fame in the digital age. And a reminder that even those who seem to have it all, they're still human. They make mistakes. They have flaws. They're vulnerable.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left thinking about our role in all of this. I mean, do we have a responsibility as the audience? Are we contributing to this culture of judging and criticizing? And if so, how can we be more mindful about how we consume these stories? It's definitely something to think about, don't you think?